The next operation in here is the function where we actually want to merge the objects in here. And to do that one, we would need three versions. Mergetool always basing it merge on a common source where you start out with. In my case, it's 5.0 Service Pack 1. And then there's a solution that was added in here. And then there's the version where we're going to. So when I bring up the merge, I have to select these four versions. And my old version was 5.0 Service Pack 1. My new version is 2009 R2, and I'm building a new version out here. And you can use assist edit, but that's more to select one later on. I'm just going to take the version and then add an M after it. If you leave this version blank, it's actually going to build a description based on these versions out here. So it's nice to know later on. The new date and time and new will be important. And the other thing is what version list to add first in here. And right now it's saying that what comes from the new version should go last. And that's actually not right. It needs to go first because Microsoft comes first and then the add-on version list come after it. I don't want to see any manual issues. I just want to let the tool run and do as much as it can. And I'm going to deal as much as possible with FOB files. So I only want to see objects that actually exist in all three versions and only merge those ones. It is possible to copy only certain information. And another thing is you can also recalculate the object properties. So if you actually put this version list in the wrong place, for example, you can run it again and then it will re-update the version list in the new objects it have created for you. So, but else I'll just click OK and the tool start running. If a compare don't exist for those versions, it will start comparing them, and you see it slows down a little when it gets to forms, because now it needs to compare my 2009 and 5.0 Service Pack 1 up here. But again, it only compares the one that it needs and not everyone in there. So I had, I think in this version, I had 112 objects or something. I don't remember the number, but I have 97 objects up here that actually was merged 100% automatically. I didn't have to do anything between those versions. So I have 42 now that require manual merge. If I look at what I have done so far, created a database, imported a FOB file, exported some text files, imported the text files, compared some versions, and now use the merge. In total time, it could be an hour or more. In actual time that you have to spend in front of the keyboard is maybe 5-10 minutes or something like that. So getting to this point, you now know that 97 of these objects causes no problem at all moving to the next version. You know that 42 of them is the one you have to deal with. And you can go look at the contrast in here for those 42 and see how tough are they to actually deal with based on the groups out here. So this one is a good way of estimating the cost of an upgrade without doing a lot of manual time sitting and looking at objects and things like that one. And you maybe end up looking at a few objects, but you can really do a lot of estimates based on just this one. So let's go start the merge again. And this time I want to deal with the manual merges in here because I need to see those ones and now handle them manually. And this one is a change. It's a little interesting change in here because it has in 5.0 there's an email and there's some code added here to unvalidate. Down here is actually an email and extended data type, and then there's some additional information. The same goes for the home page down here, where there's no change over here. You can see the line is black, and the status out here, by the way, is blank, so that means it's not lines that are changed. This one is the status from old to new. The same way I selected the versions in the original request screen, old version, new version, custom version, and result. That's exactly what I'm seeing in here. My plan now is to build down here in the result actually all the code I need in here. So to get a line of code over here, you can't drag and drop or copy paste in here. What you can do is actually assign a new line number in here. So if I go here and say that I want this line to come in before, because I need my extended data type over here. So let's put in a line number, and I can see 10 and 15 in here. So if I do that one and click on this update function down here, I can see I now have some of the code ready over here. It's not perfect because I now have the same field defined more than once actually, so that's not very smart. The other thing is my homepage down here. It was not changed up here, but I actually want that to come down here, and I'll do 150 and 160, and then click over in this window, and I will see my code now appearing up here. Now I need to get rid of the lines I don't want over here. So first of all, I can go up here and say, no, I don't want this one in here. That's fine. So as I now go in, I can fix that one. So now I only have this one problem up here. And these lines can actually be edited manually. So if you hit F2, you get into edit mode over here. And if I go to insert, because it's very important that I actually keep the right amount of spaces in front of this code, because else it won't import properly. I can actually go replace every character in here with spaces. So now I'm basically just taking all these characters, put them in as spaces, and I get the code to look right over here. So now I have my code that came from here, has been put in, my unvalidated is down here, my caption is in here, everything looks right now for the code actually. I've dealt manually with these numbers. You only do that in very rare cases. As you see as I move forward, it actually will do a lot of these things simply by using some of the functions down here, and I'll get to those ones a little later. So, but this one is a manual case where you have to do something completely just creating the lines in here. But let's go ahead and say, yep, that's fine. And this one was the customer table. I can see in here there's a bunch of code in here added, but there's really only one line of code added in here. So what I can do, I can actually take the code that is in here, my result, and say, hey, it's easier to figure out the other way around. So let's put this code over here. And I do that with the toggle, and I can put the other code over. So it basically just switches this code. You can see the line numbers here changes, and that's actually what it's doing with this toggle function. Then I have this line up here, and I could of course go assign a line number, and I have to be 65. But another thing I can do, I can actually select the lines up here I want to deal with, and then I go down here, select this function, and I want to select a line number. It brings up the current result that I have down in this corner down here, and I can now pick the line that it has to go after. So it wants to go after this contact line, and I can now see my new key being added down here in the code actually. And it looks like that is solved correctly, and this one is my second manual change in table 18 in here. And now it switched to the next table that is 23 actually. If I went back and looked at my versions, and they're currently locked in here, but I can no, they're locked because I'm running code. I could go in and see what was my contrast in here from between those two versions. And if I go remove the filter and take a look at 18, I'll see in here there was actually in this code in here. Let's get rid of this one up here. This one is the code for the SE version. And there was actually 9 group of changes, 6 inserted and 1 changed in here. And there was 9 in standard NAV in here. All this one, or actually there was a lot more, all this one went together and I only saw 2 of the changes in here. So this one is really a huge benefit because you only have to deal with the things that are different. So let's use some of the new functions in here. So this code actually needs to go over there. To move between the windows here, by the way, if you hold down Control, you will actually be able to move between the windows, and then you can select lines in here. So then I will go in and say on my new lines, the lower left, I want to select the line number, and I want to put it after this line down here. Then I want to go up here and say, on this line, I don't want to include that one. So I actually want to delete the line number. And now I fixed one problem in here. The other thing was the same as before with the extended data type. So I can go in here and say, okay, now I select that one. I want to bring it in before that one. And then go down and do the same trigger as before, blanking out all the characters so it actually looks right. So yeah. So this one is my first change. And that actually finished my vendor table. There was no more to do in that one. As I went before, I can actually go in and look at the different things. If I can't recognize where the code is, I can say, okay, old to new. Can I see the contrast? And it will actually show me exactly where the code this one actually is. And I can also look at my old to custom lines up here. Again, I can see this one is where the code was inserted. Last time I did this one and saying, okay, let's make it the other way around. And then go up here and say, select a line number for that one, and it should come after that line. And then click OK. Now I'm at the sales header, and I can see in here there is some unvalidates. Microsoft actually deleted that whole trigger in here, so they didn't have anything in there. That means we need to put in a little more code than we normally would have done in here, because yeah, we don't want Microsoft code in there, but we want a little more than this one. So yeah, I need these lines in here. I'll go in and first select Microsoft line, and then I will go in and say, for my custom line, select the line number. And I need to select the end and the line below down there. Below that one. So now I actually built the code that I actually need in here. Because I needed to take a little more on the validate in there to re-establish that code, even if it wasn't changed before, because it used to be code for that. So yeah, this one, it looks like a lot of things that has to be done in here, and yeah, it is true there is something to be done, but it's not different than what you have to do in a text editor. The one thing that is different is all the changes you don't see. In a text editor, you would have to do everything in here. This one is code that is inserted, and it's code that is inserted up here. You see the status. And there was no change lines. These ones are very easy to deal with. And since I'm defaulting to this one, I actually have a function here that I can say the inserted lines. I just want them to come first and leave it as a hotkey for it out there. And now it automatically puts those ones together. Here's again something is like, okay, I don't know how to deal with this one in here, so let's put Microsoft's code in there. And then I can see up here is nice inserted code. So actually on the custom lines, go say inserted the last, and now those one ends up building the code down here. So I'm basically just putting code together, but I'm not doing any manual editing in this one. Here's again one thing, that was nothing changed. I just need to pick a position, and I actually just want to insert the Microsoft code first in here and click OK. So I'm now done with the sales header, and if I wanted to, you can always stop in here, but when you hit escape, it's actually code running and popping up a question. So if you stop this one, then it just returns to the code, and the code running keeps on running. So if I want to exit out of merging, I have to select this option in here. I could also go skip this object, so I didn't want to do this object, but just move on to the next one in the system in here. So then if a complex object is not possible to merge inside in here in the Mergetool, you can always do it in a text edit for that single object instead of doing all of them, of course. So, what else? there is also an ability to use an external merge tool, and you actually bring the whole object into beyond compare or Raxis merge or something like that, and then you can merge it in there, and at the end it will import the object back in the merge tool. But I'll go here and say exit merging because I want to get out of here. So the merging has stopped. Because I want to show one of the other features of the request screen. See, I now have merged some more objects in here. If I go say merge version, I constantly select the custom version, but I could actually also select the new code to go in or automatically, and then I would figure out where to put my custom code instead. So if you know the custom code much better than Microsoft changes, that's probably the option you want to go with. So if I now click OK, I can see in here that the code in here has now been changed in here. So it basically say this one of the options in here, I have a hard time seeing what the change is in code. First of all, because of my low resolution. But in here you can see that there used to be an if shipment date, if you look down here. And it was actually rammed out, and then it was replaced with an if shipment date and current field number different from 0. Since Microsoft have changed this one down here, we of course needs to have that code in there also. So Microsoft still has the same first line, because you can see it's black here, it's not changed. So I can actually just take these lines, select the line number, Control G by the way, and put it in here. And then I can go over here and say this line, since it's only one, I can delete the line number, but I also can go in and use the function and say, okay, delete line number for the selected lines. Using the function has that nice thing that it actually updates the screen on here automatically. This one is 4 individual subforms, and this one only get updated if it's done properly. So, yeah. So this one in here is now, and then you have the if not, that was Microsoft change, so I can keep on moving on in here. This one again, it now has Microsoft code in here, and I'll just say, okay, insert this one last, the new code up here. Again, new functions, the one that now is in custom, I insert those ones last. And if I look at it here, of course, they just go in here at the bottom. And that was the sales line. Now it goes to the purchase header, and Microsoft used to have this one. Looks very similar to what we actually did in the other one. I can go in and say, yeah, that's fine. That's the lines of code up here I actually want. And I want to get rid of the code that actually came from Microsoft, because they have removed their code, but we still need the validate trigger. So, and click OK on that one. This one is, yeah, that's fine. Insert it last. Again, code. And you can keep on going like that one. So this one, the actually is, I'm just going to use the hotkeys here. It's much better than using the mouse. Because that means you can move really fast through the objects. This one again, it's a similar change like this one here. And I have my new code down here. So now I actually only need to put the code in that I want extra in here. So I can go here and say, yep, I want to put this one in here and do the trick about replacing with spaces. And this one is the same thing again. So let's go put this code in here. See, this one, I can't really just select last in here because there's more code, so I can actually bring up this one for the one that's say inserted up here, the status out here to begin with. that's the lines I'm working on with that one. And then I don't even have to select them. I just go in and select OK. So this one is Microsoft inserted some code. There's some other code in here. So I'm just going to put this one last again. So this one is actually, again, a place where two changes touches each other. And the merge tool rather asks too many questions and make some assumptions. So in this case, it actually needs to be solved manually. So I can go in and say this line, I want to have after that one. And then, of course, I want to take out Microsoft's line. So